you gonna come?
Hi, I'm Ernie Hudson, and I have to tell you that I'm so excited to be here at Cedar Crest College and to be able to bring my show, Ghost in the House. And I'm really looking forward to the performance, but I just feel honored to be here. Yeah. Well, you're lucky if your mom got a basement, because mine didn't. And also probably add here that, you know, obviously what I do is I'm an actor, but Frank started out as an actor, then got into, Frank has done a little bit of all of it, writing, directing, and
He's trying to shift attention onto me.
well, you know, and so, but he has in every, there are no two, I think, individuals with the same story in this business, because everybody's different. So he has a very different perspective than, say, mine. So hopefully you'll, you know, get a chance to hear our different.
Tell him how you get started.
You know, you know, coming back to my grandmother's basement was not, my grandmother raised me, so that wasn't an option. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was one of those people, I just wanted to finally break away, so it was no going back. And what I had to find was a career that I could do for the rest of my life. So it wouldn't be something that I'd have to retire at 55 or something. So when I got into college and I got involved in theater, I realized that there were a lot of people who just wanted to be a part of it, who loved it, and also I looked around and I realized not everybody's going to be able to do this. So it was just so many people involved, and when I got out to Hollywood, there were so many people who were up for any one role that I had to do whatever I could to separate myself from the group. I mean, it's all a gamble, but what do I do that separates me? So when he goes to hire somebody, I know there are 100 people up for it, but you know, what am I bringing to the table? And so when I was doing my training, I wanted to make sure that I really had my skills down, you know, everything that I could to hedge my bet. If it's a gamble, then I want to make sure that I got the best hand. And those things is what we do. We do it with our training, we do it with just all the steps that you can add that separates you. So, and I think you have to be sort of mindful of that, you know. But once again, there are no guarantees, you know. So I don't even know if I even answered the question, but so yeah, I don't know. You might be in your grandmother's basement, and if that happens, that's okay for a minute. You know, life is, every experience is valuable, but you just don't want to stay there. You know, I think.
Well, we were talking at the breakfast about how, for instance, in England, you guys would be subsidized. You wouldn't have to worry about earning a living so much if you got into a program, if you got into the Royal Academy, or you got into an ensemble theater company. You wouldn't have to worry about surviving as much, because we don't have anything like that. We don't develop actors that way here. We throw them out into the jungle, and they have to fend for themselves. And so it's really a hard life. I'm discouraging them right from the get-go. It's not an easy life. Reality. So you have to be prepared for not just your craft. You need to have your craft under your belt, like Ernie says, but you also have to have sort of steel your personality to protect yourself against constant rejection. It's part of the equation. You have to be prepared for it. You can't let it sink you. You can't let it knock you down. You have to just keep moving. And if you can't do that, then it's probably not for you, because it's you know, I changed from being an actor because I couldn't do it. I personally disliked so much walking out of a room knowing that should be my part. Maybe I was a little, you know, and then somebody else got the part, you know, and then I see it and I go, I could have done better than that. It's something that you have to make that adjustment, otherwise you're doomed. How many of you really want to pursue professional acting as a career? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's also many, I mean, the skills you learn as an actor or director or any of the stuff that we do, all these things can be applied to other things. Any profession you go into, these skills will help you. So nothing is ever lost. And you don't have to be, you know, the #1 movie star to have a great life as an actor. I mean, most communities have a local theater, and you know, you can work, you can apply your craft, you can have fun, you can have a family, you can do those things. So many actors I meet who've given up on ever having a family, and because they just put everything into this. That's a personal choice, you know, that. But I think what Frank was saying, it's a hard life, but I've never seen my career as having a hard time. And what I realize that is, it's your perspective on it. I mean, you know, I go into an interview, I don't get the job. First off, I think they gotta be crazy not to give me a job. I mean, who would not give me a job? So, but I learned something from that. I kind of, it's all, and also know it's a numbers game, so how you look at it becomes very important. You know, the optimist as opposed to the pessimist. You can beat yourself up all day. I mean, you know, but I think it's very important to have a healthy perspective and a healthy ego. It's a lot like, we were talking at breakfast as well, I've always looked at it like dating, you know, and, you know, when you really like someone, you really want to, and they reject you, you know, people go, well, I'm not worthy because they didn't think I'm nothing, and they rejected me. I go like, she had to be out of her mind. I mean, how do you not take me? So that's, you know, good luck, because you'll see. And I think you really have to have a healthy enough ego. You got to know that you bring something to the table, you know, and you can't get that from somebody else, because you'll have an instructor who'll say, no, I think you're really pretty good, but you'll have many of the instructors that I've seen over the years, they'll find people to pick on, and they'll tell you, oh, you can't act, you should get out of the business, so you have to be able to get past all that stuff. So kind of we all say the same thing. Yeah. But your perspective makes all the difference in the world, because that'll carry you through even when everybody's saying, forget it. I can go on and on with it.
You have to believe in your own uniqueness if you're an actor. You have to realize that there's nobody quite like you. Nobody's got what you have, your experiences, your sensitivity. And so that's your plus. That's the thing you carry with you. You walk into a room, and if you don't get the job, you still walk out with your head high and knowing that you have something special. And eventually, if you keep plugging at it, somebody will notice.
You know, I mean, the world, I mean, yeah, you just got to know that you know, and you know that they know. Because a lot of times they don't cast the person who they think is the best. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they make choices. It has nothing to do with you. The other thing is knowing that a lot of this stuff has nothing to do with you. It's not because, you know, you're not this or that. There are other things, or other, you know, most of it is money.
Your agent may be not the right agent. The star of the film may have an agent, and he wants his guy in that part, and so the better actor doesn't get it.
The producer's a friend with his agent, and so he owes him a favor, and even though he knows you'd be better in the role. So there's all those things that, but all that is common sense, okay? First off, if you're doing it, you should think that, I like to think that I'm the best person for the role, or why am I even going in? I mean, really, if they can hire better, if this guy's better for the part, then give him the job. I'd be the first one to say. So you gotta be healthy enough to know that, no, I've trained, I bring something that nobody else can bring, and that's gotta carry you through, even when they make dumb decisions, because they will make dumb decisions. And even when your grandmother says, how long are you gonna be here, baby? Because grandma needs her space, you know. You gotta know, grandma, hold on, you'll see, because I guarantee you, when you become successful, grandma will not remember telling you you need to get your own place. They'll go, I always knew, baby, you so good, even when you were just a little one. You know, I knew you was gonna be special. So.
Questions?
But yeah, any questions you guys have or whatever? I mean, we're you know, trying to.
So right out of undergraduate school, did you have an agent? Like, where did you go? How did you find work? You had work.
Well, you know, I kind of came to the to the industry. I grew up in this small town, a very poor town, and once again, your perspective. I think I had a golden childhood. I mean, really, a really cool childhood. But then when I look at it on paper, you know, we were poor, I mean, all those things, but I knew that people loved me, which I think is the main thing. But when I finally, and my grandmother who raised me wanted me to get a good job. That was her, finish high school, because she was born in 1895, and high school was like it. You get a high school education and you're set for life, and of course that wasn't true. But to get a good job, and so I tried for, it seemed like a long time, I guess it wasn't that long, but to find a good job. And then I found a good job. I was a communications consultant for the telephone company. And I got to wear a suit, and I had a secretary. They gave me a little car, and it was great, except I hated it. And so when I realized that I couldn't find this place of belonging and of just a good job, then I needed to do something that I felt at home with. And when I first walked on stage, I just felt like this was home. I mean, I can do this. People say, well, isn't it wonderful that you found something that you love? And I go, well, I can't really say that I love it. I do enjoy what I do, but I do this because I can do it. It's like, okay, let me get it. Okay, so I say this, and he says that, and I hit this mark, and I can do that. I got that down. So finding something that you know you can do, that's your calling. And so when I finally found theater, and I got involved, and I really made a commitment that if I give my life to this, then I expect something back from it. But once again, like a relationship. If we're going to be together, I'm going to show up, and I expect you to show up too. And if you can't show up, then I don't need to be here. And vice versa. And I think in theater, I need to have signs, theater God, that I'm in the right place. Because if I'm sitting here for 3 years and I ain't worked a job, then maybe I don't need to be here. So now I got to do my part, but then theater has to do its part too. And I think when you commit, I believe when you commit, that life commits to you. So I didn't have an agent at first because I was in Detroit, and you do a play, and you always looking for the next play. You're looking for somebody. I always found a way to make some money. They would do little commercials. They do some, industrial stuff. They do, because I felt money is a certain kind of acknowledgement that I was on the right track. And then eventually I got an agent. So those things kind of unfold. But it is really, and I know I'm Andrew, but I think it really is a universal spiritual thing, in the sense that the universe will give to you what you ask for if you really believe it, but it doesn't give to you the way you think it will. I've never gotten a break from the people who I thought I'd get the break from. People with my friends and all, and I'm at their party, and I'm doing all this great stuff. They didn't give me the job, even though they had jobs to give. It was this guy over there who I didn't even know was watching. So you can't tell the universe how to, you just have to show up and be prepared. Because the worst thing is for the door to open and you just don't have your stuff together. But anyway, I'm sorry. So, and what do you think about that?
How to get started. First of all, it's a big myth to think that an agent is going to change your life. When you get that first agent, you're going to have to be pushing him to get you through doors. They sort of put you in a little file cabinet, I've got this type, I've got that type. But they will have a lot of other people ahead of you that they've been working with.
The average agency, 650 people. They work for about 15.
Yeah.
Everybody else is there. So if you get lucky and he gives you a job, the agent gets paid. So they got 500 people who they're just getting money on because they're there. I'm sorry.
And the agent gets excited in you if you got yourself a job. Oh, that's somebody I might be able to work for now. And then you move up on that list of 650 to maybe 400.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's the reality. You have to. It's not like getting a real job. It's harder. It's much harder.
Well, he sees it from the hard perspective. It is. But when I was looking for a place, I used to sell these Watkins products. It's like door to door. You go and knock them. I don't think people do it anymore because I think you'd probably get molested or something. But you go door to door. You knock. Say hello. My name is Ernie. I'm with the Watkins product. Can I come in and show you my lineup? And they let you come in. And you go in. And I had this brief case of stuff. And in Watkins, they had, it's like Fuller Brush, they had maybe 10,000 products. And you had a catalog and you'd show your different products, and depending on what they wanted, they could order from you, and that's how you made money. It's sort of a part-time job. What I found was there was 3 things that would sell. So every time I went in, I sold those 3 things. I didn't give a, I mean, all those other 10,000 things, nobody's buying anyway. So, you know, we had this liniment that was probably fake, but you rub it on and it takes care of any pain. I sold a lot of liniment because they wanted to hear about this liniment. But, and I think agents are the same. If they believe in you, they'll probably work, but it's hard to get them to see what you see. The biggest thing is, how do I see what you see? Because most people ain't gonna see it. Yeah, so that's, anyway, so you want to be the one that they do go, oh my God, this guy's going to make me a fortune. This guy's going to change my life. This guy's going to, or this girl is going to really make the difference. And then they'll get in and how do you get them to see it? That's, you know, a whole other story too.
Are there any writers and directors here? No, just actors.
I'm directing a play for my senior project.
Uh-huh. And how do you approach directing? How do you look at it?
I feel like I'm pretty hands-on. Like, I'm more tactile, I guess, with it. Like, I'll show someone what to do and then say, okay, does that make sense? Can I answer any questions?
Right.
It's still in the basic blocking rehearsals.
Okay.
So, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's new to me, because I'm normally the one that's
Being
taking the
directed.
acting. Oh, I have to go here.
Right.
The director said I go here, but
Yeah.
it's
So
good to open that up.
a little bit of a danger when an actor first starts directing, because what they want to do is act out all the parts and get the other actors to do how they see it, you know.
Yeah.
The most important thing with directing, I think, is collaborating with the actors, finding a way to have a relationship with the actors, so that it's a communication thing, and you add something and they add something, and together you make something that's unique. But it takes time, because everybody's looking at you like you're in charge. You're supposed to tell me what to do. And if a director says, I'm not sure what to do here, let's figure this out. You look at it, oh. But that's what the good directors do.
Yeah, we're in like trial and error, because I'm working in a small space. It's a fast-paced play, so once we get everybody in there, we'll be like, oh, should you enter from here? No, let's have a bunch of different options and then try them all out.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. And it'll help you as an actor, too, because when you see what's on the other side of it, you kind of know what people think when they see you and you're auditioning, because you're doing the other side of it. You're auditioning, you're listening, you go, oh, why are they doing that? Well, why aren't they grounded? Why aren't they really here with me? They're so nervous. They're projecting nerves. So that all of that helps you become a better actor.
And I think too, you know, like I said, it's hard to get people to see what you see. I mean, obviously you believe in something, you see something for yourself. That's why you're here. Otherwise, you go to some other, you know, area that has a little more guarantees. I think it's important to be able to work with people. I've never been very good at it, which is probably why, well, I won't go there, but I'm just not very good at it. It's very hard. The hardest thing on this is really working with Frank. He's impossible. No, but it's very hard, because as an actor, I can go, you know what, I got my thing, and you guys go ahead, and, you know, I know how to do what I do. But it's very important to be able to work well with people. And because some people actually are meant to produce. They're very good at it. They like doing it. Some people are really meant to direct, and some people really are writers. They think that way. And some people are actors. And I think it's important to align yourself, if you can, with a group who can show you at your best. I think it'd be a very foolish to do what I did for almost 50 years, is to sit and wait for someone to discover what I have to offer, because they may never see what you see. And so you need someone to see. So if you can get together with someone and some friends and make a movie, and you're starring in it, and that's something that you can show as a calling card, because they may not come to, where are we? Allentown to see you in that production, you know, but you got a piece of film that you can show. So I think, I know that Spielberg and a lot of Quentin Tarantino, they have their people they love to work with. So finding your people when you love to work with the director, I mean, form those relationships because they'll pull the best out of you, and I think that's really, really important. And then the last thing I'll say about it is just remember that this is America, and actors and directors, we're the worker bees, and they don't pay the worker bees very much. You need to own something. So when you're involved in a project where you're creating and you're contributing and you got a little piece of something that becomes a big piece, then you share in it. But actors normally don't share in anything. So just know that you want to always think as a creator as well as whatever discipline that you choose.
So I want to add something to that. Like what we do in the performing arts is our seniors do their own thesis project.
Right.
And the idea in that thesis project is for them to come up with their own
Yeah.
artistic vision. They gather their own talent, they gather their own crew, and they
Right.
make it their show, whether it's a dance piece or
Right.
Rebecca was
Sure.
talking about was her senior project is she's directing the show.
Right.
They don't do about a month or so.
Right.
So it actually, the two melt together really nicely.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Of being able to drive your own shit to get people motivated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it's really very, very important because otherwise this becomes a game of waiting. I've seen some brilliant, guys, girls who are really that good sit. They'll go out to LA and it's been 7 years since they did last thing they did was some television episode, and they keep waiting for the agent to call, and you don't grow sitting. So you need to be
In a
able
good
to be
class
active.
or with a
Yeah.
group of people that are working. And if you're serious about being an actor, you never stop. You never just wait. You never, lock yourself in your room and hope something will happen. You have to keep moving. You have to keep struggling.
Yeah, you got to be active in your career. You got to, be active.
Can you talk a little bit about the show that you're working on right now relative to the process? Because you're talking about that collaboration,
Yeah.
both on stage and off as a director, it's a one-man show.
Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of you being on stage, it's you. And
Right.
so it's different as opposed to being in a cast with other people and you're acting and reacting.
Yeah.
And in the same way, that collaborative effort, working with a single person as opposed to that whole cast, what's that process?
Well, it's a
What
complex.
challenges does it bring with that?
It's complex because we started on the project about almost 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, probably 2 years ago.
We
maybe
started
over, yeah.
we started out wanting to do something on Frederick Douglass because we had done a show together in which he played Frederick Douglass. And so we thought that would be something. But Ernie had this Jack Johnson desire because he had played in The Great White Hope, like 30
Yeah, about 35 years ago.
Yeah. And that was his big breakthrough, or one of them.
Yeah.
And that led to a Hollywood career and everything else sort of started with that. So there was a deep connection that he had to Jack Johnson. So we started talking about Jack Johnson. We started researching. He had a bunch of books. I got some books. We read the books. And we started forming an idea about what the play could be about as a one-man show. First we were thinking about, like 6 characters, something where Joe Louis was the anti-Jack Johnson. You guys don't know anything about boxing, but Jack represented one sort of approach to being out there, and Joe Louis came along 20, 25 years later and presented to white America, basically, a harmless kind of figure, whereas Jack was this extravagant, out there in your face kind of guy and did some things that got him in trouble. So we started thinking about that, and then we switched over to, producing a 6-character play cost a lot of money. So we started thinking about how do we tell Jack's story through Jack himself, on stage by himself. And he extracted certain ideas about how he wanted him to tell the story, and I did, and we sort of combined the ideas, and we came up with a first draft about almost a year ago. And at that point, Ernie couldn't do the show, and Tony Todd, some of you guys may know who he is, Candyman, everybody knows Candyman, did the part for the first time up, which is nothing like the play you guys are going to see. It's much, now it's filled out, there's a lot more going on in it. But we go back and forth. There are things that he feels strongly about and things that I feel strongly about. And we do this once in a while. That's all part of the process. You have to realize it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not about being right or wrong. It's about doing the best, making the best play and the best performance that you possibly can. But the reason that we're doing the shows, obviously, is so that we can learn about the piece. We've taken away, now we've done this thing, what is this going to be, the fourth?
This will be the fourth time we've done
Or the
it.
fifth performance, if you count LA.
That's right, yeah, fifth.
And each one is teaching us something about what's right or wrong with the piece, and what's right or wrong with how I'm approaching it, or we're approaching it. And so, and we're probably going to end up doing like maybe 20 or 30 shows before we start to really find out what the best way for the show, the best form of the show, and tell it fully.
Yeah, I did a play on Broadway about 3 years ago, and it's 100 shows. By the time you get 100 shows, you got a pretty good idea of what you're doing. But up until then, it's evolving. And it always evolves, even after that. But by then, you pretty much know kind of where you are. And the same thing happened here. I mean, I did the Great White Hope 35 years ago or so, and in fact, the theater that I did it for, they came to see the show, and they're in Minnesota, but they came to Colorado and saw the performances of this play. And in the Great White Hope, it's a Jack Jefferson. It's sort of a fictionalized version of Jack Johnson. And I thought his personal story was more interesting. So I wanted to tell the story. And Frank is great. I mean, just in terms of, it's harder in a way because I really just want to do what I want to do. But on the other hand, I don't see well. And he sees what I can't see. So I totally trust him. So if it's something that he's really, adamant about, I know that I need to tune into and to pay attention. But it's harder because you don't have other actors bounce off. Frank handles all the visual arts stuff. Him and Miles back here, but there's a lot of stuff going on that I really haven't quite tuned into yet. But they're all a part of the thing that you kind of have to be aware of. So it's a lot of stuff that, as an actor, normally I just don't have. I have to deal with. So and I also wanted, so in terms of a one-man, Hal Holbrook is a friend, and he has been doing Mark Twain since he was in college for about 70 years now. He's still doing it, and I think it's great. It's this thing that he does and I wanted to show that I could go. I can have fun. I can learn. I can grow, and I can also. It was important to me that he have a chance to tell his story. And it ties back into what I was saying about, even though I had the idea and I wanted to do this show, it would not be being done if it hadn't been for Frank. Because I got projects. I started as a writer. I was a playwright. And I got about 10 projects that I've been working on for about 80 years now. But I kind of get them going, and then I get involved with work. But he becomes the reason why we still got to show up. We still got to do it, and he sort of helps me set the timeline. Even though
I don't want to do this show.
I don't, you know what I mean. So it helps to work with other people because they do help you to finish and get things done.
The wheels going.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen a one-man show or one-woman show that impressed you? The young guys haven't.
Yeah.
Nobody. Never seen John Guziano, for instance.
I saw a really great one-woman show, So Caldwell.
So called. Tremendous
She did
actress.
one woman play Lillian,
Yeah.
Lillian Hellman.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was crazy great.
And she created everything all by herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's but it is a challenge in a very different way,
So how do you make the transition from film and stage, and what are you thinking about in your mind? Like, okay, camera by myself, what do you do to make transitions when you switch between different mediums as an actor?
Well, early on, I began to realize, because I started out in theater. I did theater for about 10 years before I ever did a TV show. And it's just, you know, film is so personal. The camera's so there. I mean, it's there. You can't, you know, you catch yourself acting for it, and then you're in big trouble. Whereas theater, you know, whatever I'm projecting has got to reach to that back row there. So, you know, and I think it's just common sense. I don't understand what I do, so it's hard to kind of explain, but I think you almost have to do it, and you almost have to see it, and you almost have to go, oh my God, that's, you know, that you kind of go, okay, what can I do differently? How do I adjust? You know, working in film, where you normally, or in the old days at least, you had time to really develop a character, work with the director or the other actors, rehearse some things, shoot it all day. And TV is, we did Oz, I mean, it was like, you step on a roller coaster and it's on, and there's no time. We shoot it, we move on, and it's, you know, you got to do a whole script in, you know, 6 days. So most of it's common sense. You just know that you got to adjust. And some actors don't make the adjustment well. They just don't know how to jump from being a movie star, actor, and then they're on stage and they're trying to play to the camera, but it's so, and I guess for me, you just have to kind of do it, and you just have to kind of, the audience will tell you, you know, they're very clear. And as far as TV and film, your relatives will tell you, it's like, maybe you shouldn't do that acting thing. Maybe, you ever think about getting a job, you know? But yeah, so that's my take. But
yeah, the technical part of it is just calibration. You know, when something is here and the microphone's here and the director's got you at a strange angle so you can get a shot that he wants, you learn that certain things that you call real are not real, but they play real on the camera, or for the camera. And the same thing is true on stage. Some actors can't, you know, keep a sense of truthfulness and be a little bigger than they might be if they were just sitting in a room with you. So it's all about learning that calibration, learning how to modulate that, and it's about experience with it. And the time factor with TV and film is ridiculous. I mean, you come in, they don't, the director doesn't even look at you. He starts to tell you where you got to stand. Come in, you got your lines, let's go, and you're on to the next thing before you have a chance to do anything. So you have to be really prepared and really concentrated and do your homework. And you know, some actors don't. Some actors show up, and it's good enough. They get through it.
Yeah.
You know? And other actors like Ernie, they work at it. They prepare. You know, he doesn't feel right if he goes to a set and he doesn't have it together.
yeah, I hate the feeling of not being prepared. But you know, on stage, you know, you're going to rehearse 4 or 6 weeks or whatever, and you're going to work with the lady who's playing your wife, and you guys are going to find your rhythm, and you're going to try to create that world. In TV especially, and sometimes even in film, you're going to meet her 10 minutes before you get ready to do the scene, and she's going to be somebody who you would never date in life, but you still got to make the world believe you're in love with her, and but you adjust, and you know, so much of it is common sense, I think. But
so where's the feedback on that though, right? So you meet him 10 minutes in, and does the director say, wait, that didn't work at all?
No.
Is it all instincts, or?
well, yeah, I think because the sad part is nobody will tell you the truth in this business.
Right.
Nobody will ever tell you the truth, because if they say, you know what, you really suck, and then you become a big star and they won't get a job. So they're gonna always lie to you. So I think, once again, you sort of have a feel, and you know what will sell, you know, and if she's professional, which you hope, but she may not be, because she might be the producer's daughter and whoever, and so you just have to kind of, you know, you have to, you know, acting is believing. You have to try to create that world, and sometimes you'll find the person who you're meeting for the first time, but they really want to work and they really want to get their best. And sometimes you get people. I remember actors, they don't want to run lines, they don't even want to rehearse the scene. You know, so you know. But it's about how you make your living. To me, it's no different. Well, it is different, but if you were a house painter, I mean, this is what you do. So then your job is to make it work. I mean, you know, the worst thing in the world is an actor giving an excuse. it's like, I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's like, you took the job, you got to show up. I mean, you got to, you know, I don't care that you didn't know her, and I don't care if she wasn't your type. You know, you got to tell the story, and you're a storyteller, and that's why you get paid, which helps. Because when you're working free, I mean, it's a whole different world when they're paying you a lot of money, and you go, you know what? I've always had children since I was 19 years old. So I need this job. I need this job to get my kids shoes and books and bicycles, and I go home and I can't go, you know, they turned the heat off because daddy didn't get a job. I'm like, I gotta get this job. So when you're getting paid well and you know I gotta make this scene work with this lady, because if I don't, I'm out of a job, and they got somebody else playing. Frank will be playing my role. So you go, oh, you know, that's the other thing. If you think, you go, how come I didn't get that job? And you'll see somebody, you see, in my case, you know, a 4'11" woman playing the part. And you go, really? Because I thought, I mean, there is no rhyme or reason. The whole business is insane. No, really, it really is. They're crazy. They're really crazy. And you're working with a bunch of crazy people. And they make crazy decisions that really don't, it's not about, we're thinking about the finance or even the best quality product. They're crazy. And they're in charge. And so,
Yes,
there.
that's basically it. The crazy people are in charge.
Yeah.
You may be working on a set. A friend of mine did a TV show, what's it called, Murphy's Law or something like that? An NBC show. Did you ever work on that?
No, I never worked on it.
And one of the stars of the show is playing a DA, I think, and he plays a witness. And he gets all bent out of shape because the star of the show was texting right up until they said, you know, let's action. And he was just so thrown by it. He was so upset by it that he couldn't. He felt like his performance had been destroyed because this actress was treating him with such disrespect by texting right up to the last second and then dropping in. But you can't allow that to happen to you because you'll never work. You are going to be constantly in situations where everything is at odds with what you're supposed to do. And you still have to have the focus and the concentration to be able to deliver a performance that you believe in, at least.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
got
otherwise you're projecting, you know, I got to deal with this, and it doesn't work.
No.
And then you don't get hired again.
And sometimes they don't want your best. You know, you go in prepared, and you're just like, nah, you know.
Yeah, do less.
I did this movie called The Hand Rocks the Cradle, and I did a lot of research, and I found this guy who I sort of based the character on. It was kind of interesting because even he was very high functioning on a certain thing that he does, which is like this real elaborate drawings, but on the other hand, he had difficulty in other areas. But he always had a little crust in his ear, and he always had a little crust in his nose, you know, and but it was great, it was amazing. And so when I showed up on the set with a little crust in my ear and a crust in my nose, and they're like, nah, this is still, we're not doing that. I'm going, yeah, but it's real. I mean, it's real. I mean, they say, no, we don't want that. We just want, you know. And when you work in TV and you'll have actors who are the stars of the show, and they've learned how to say the words, and they don't want you coming with this huge performance. They want you, so you got to learn how to work with the people that you work with and make it work. I did a show, Stargate. I cannot tell you what the show was about. I mean, I was like, I'm asking the other actor, what does this mean? I mean, he says, no, don't worry about it, just say it. So I stood there and I said it. I mean, and I see fans who go, oh my God, you were so wonderful on the show. So, you know, but once again, you have to adjust. I mean, you're always having to adjust. And for people who have a hard time adjusting, then you're going to be in trouble. You know, and it's wonderfully insane. And you go, that was different. So,
Crazy business.
anyway, so we hope that was encouraging.
Yes, have we encouraged you?
Yeah. I used to say that I used to do theater, and I found love in theater. I mean, I found other actors. We rehearsed together. We were part of a company. We cared about each other. We were so into the work, and it was kind of a love affair. Hollywood is like sex. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like you
Bad
sort of
sex.
Lucky, lucky if you can get it. But the next morning, it ain't no love there. It's like, okay, bye. And you think, but we work together. No, it's like, no. So don't be thinking it's a love affair and you're going to get married here. No, it's like, so you almost have to look at it, I think, a little bit like that. It's like, but you still got to do what you do, And I see more actors reach a point where they become so cynical and so angry and so disappointed and think it really whatever, and you can't become that. You know what I mean? Not just because you don't want to become that for the industry, but for yourself. You don't want to be that person. With every bad story that ever happened to you in Hollywood, So you got to love you, which is the first thing. And you got to love yourself enough to not let anybody make you do things that you don't love yourself anymore. Or, you know what I mean? You gotta love yourself. That's where it all starts. It's all, That's what I think, because I love me. So that's my advice.
Anybody else?
Can you talk a little bit about the pros or cons of creating a character from reality as opposed to...
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to, when you dramatize anything, especially a figure from history, you can't be 100% literal. You have to, there are ways and times that you have to find a way to shape something that maybe reveals something that you really don't know for sure if that person in history ever actually revealed. And we do some of that in the play. There were some very personal experiences in it. We sort of got the starting point from the research, but then we had to take it, further. And the art comes in, and how well you do that without destroying something that's historically accurate. You have to preserve the one, and at the same time, open a door into a corner that nobody else has ever done, so that you can feel something about this human being's soul, and not just, he did this, he did that, he went here, he did that, and he got in trouble for this, and he got in trouble for that. So that's the challenge, is what to dramatize, what to eliminate, what not to be totally, you can load up a thing like this with nothing but facts, and that's pretty damn boring. So facts are not dramatic content, and you have to sort of, at the same time, respect the historical context. Be sure you let everybody know what kind of a world this guy was living in and what his obstacles were, but come from a personal point of view.
Yeah, otherwise it's a lecture. We come up and I'll tell you that he did this and this and this and this, and that's interesting. But how do we get to the heart of the person? And that's what we try to get to. And yet you want to be, you want to be honest. You don't want to do anything that that doesn't represent. And so.
So do you feel more pressure because that person is a real person, or is it in a sense liberating because you're not coming up with a backstory per se because that person has a backstory that they have life?
It's a great question.
Well, I certainly feel a pressure of being honest with his story and being honest, true to the character as I, in my research, what I believe is true. I think I have a responsibility to him to try and do that. So I think for me, there's as well as some fictional character, somebody just drew up, I can sort of make him whatever, staying true to the story. But I think in this case, since it was a person, and it's helpful when a guy gives you such a life to draw on. I mean, it's such a big life that I have a hard time even imagining. I mean, in this particular person, I don't know how that's possible, but it was. And luckily it was well documented, so it wasn't like something you have to make up. I mean, it's kind of all there. But then what motivates you, the driving force, that's the thing that gets missed in the history books.
And you get different points of view from history. also. You get people who will chronicle a certain event, and then you'll get a different version from a different perspective. And then you hear Jack wrote his own autobiography. He has a different take on the same events, and so you start to wonder, you know, where is the actual truth? It's kind of a balancing act, and then you kind of have to choose, as you're working on it, what's going to work dramatically the best, what enhances and brings to life which version of these things. And then you know, you blend and you homogenize certain things, and other things you drop away. And but it is, I think, in some ways, it's liberating, because you have a basic underlying structure. We know what he did in 1914. We know about certain, you know, events that took place, and so you fill in the gaps with the personal, and you have the signposts of his career and his life to work with.
But when in doubt, I'd rather go with his version. Me personally. I mean, you know, he did write a book, so biographers sometimes get so into wanting to tell the truth or the whatever, that if they can prove it, then I go, okay. But a lot of times it's them speculating about what actually, you know, they'll say he was a bullfighter, but he probably didn't fight big bulls. It's like, he was a bullfighter. He was in the ring with a bull. That's enough for me, you know. He said it was a big bull, so why would I, you know, so you get a lot of that. So when in doubt, I'd rather go with his version as opposed to somebody else's.
As long as you keep in mind that we like to lie about ourselves.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's him telling the story. I mean, it's like, so if we're going to have his lie, you know, then, so that's one of the things that you can probably tell that I'm like, you know what? Give me a reason to believe otherwise, but if he says whatever, I'd rather go with his, you know. Now, some things is like, okay. But he certainly, you know, gave his account of certain things.
So we got time for maybe one more, a few more questions. Is there somebody you want to
I was just wondering, I know you said you've done a lot here before, just what your favorite on-stage role was.
You know, my favorite, the life-changing role for me, and it literally was life-changing, I did The Great White Hope about 35 years ago. James Earl Jones had done the movie, and he had been on Broadway with it. And I was in Minnesota, and my marriage was breaking up, and I was been doing theater for about 10 years, and I had no money, and my sister-in-law went to wash my clothes at the laundromat and left them there, and I had a pair of jeans and a shirt, and things were, and my wife had kicked me out of the house, and it was going to be getting cold in Minnesota, and so all those fun things to look forward to, and they were doing this play, so I went in and auditioned for it, and I was getting close to my 30th birthday, and I was feeling like maybe I should think about doing something else, because I wasn't feeling the love, and I got into rehearsing the play, and I dealt with it as if I was training for a fight, and when the play opened, it was just amazing, and I knew that I was exactly where I needed to be. And when the play was over, I went to Hollywood, and I got a job the first day I got to town, and women liked me. They liked me, you know. So it was, yeah, it was. And when I was Jack Johnson, the character, I was very. If I went into a bank and there was a line, people would go, "You go in front." And when I go as Ernie Hudson, people could go, "Get there, back there," and you know. So it was really just life affirming in a strange way. So that was the role that, and I've never had that role in film or TV. I've never been able to do that. But it was enough to keep me going for another 35 years. So that was my experience.